We interrupt your regularly scheduled podcast for this special announcement.
If you like role-playing games, check out swingandamiss.net where...
David, did you do your laundry?
Oh god, this is not happening. Yes, I did. Don't come in.
What, you playing with yourself in there?
No, I'm trying to record a promo.
A porno? Not in my home, young man.
No, a promo, an ad for my podcast.
What's a podcast?
It's a recording of our actual plays and gaming advice for people to download and listen to.
Is that on the internet?
Yes, Ma. Swingandamiss.net is a place for players and game masters to talk to each other across several gaming genres.
Okay, well don't forget to take out the trash and find a nice girl.
Swingandamiss.net. Don't let your mother catch you playing with yourself here.
Hi, this is Ross Payton here with Role Playing Public Radio, and this is episode 38, Fight Me or Give Me a Quest.
God damn, the voice is back.
It's been a long time.
There it
Our
is.
loyal RPPR
The
listeners.
throbbing in my head
But,
continues.
Despite all our misadventures, or my misadventures recently, we're back. Better than ever.
You know, Ross, I have to ask, when you're in bed, fucking who you fuck, do you do it in that voice?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah,
It's like-
baby.
it's like-
Baby, give it to me.
It's like, am I
No,
pleasuring
oh, God, I'm not going to go down this alley anymore. Okay, I'm going to talk normal. Are you better? Are you happy now, Tom?
The throbbing's lessening, thank you, yes.
I don't want to go down that alley. That's...
Oh, you're taking the moral high ground here.
Well, I don't know who's going to listen to this podcast in the future, so, I don't want my future Senate campaign ruined by... I can't say that with a straight face, can I?
No, just don't try. And don't be drinking water when you do that. You're going to ruin your laptop, man.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, if Al Franken can be senator, why can't I? Or if Jesse Ventura can be governor.
A crippling lack of likability.
I remember reading about Al Franken being a writer in Saturday Night Live back in the 70s, doing coke before writing sketches and going nuts.
Yeah, you don't do coke, Ross.
No, but if Al Franken can do
You
coke...
drink Vault.
Yes. Vault is good, though.
Vault is awesome.
Vault is nectar of the god.
If you-
What are we even doing? We're just ranting on, not giving
It's-
the loyal listeners
well,
what
the,
they
It's
want.
the strange ambience of your new apartment.
Yeah. Well, duplex, Ooh,
Yeah, he's got a garage now.
Yes, I am not in a 40-year-old building that is falling apart. Just so you know, loyal listeners, that the reason why we've had a long little absence from recording episodes is because I've had to move between the last episode now because about a month and a half ago, the apartment that I was at, the gutters clogged.
A piece of shit already, by the way.
Yeah, very old building. The gutters clogged during a very horrendous rainstorm. And so it started raining in my building, literally indoors. I had to wear a raincoat indoors and had to bail out trash cans and Tupperware for about 15 hours all through the night. Literally, I did not sleep
Didn't you
at
say
all.
that eventually got almost a game, like find the leak?
Yeah, no, I had to listen to all the leaks to see if a new one was popping up. It was kind of interesting, actually. But
And I especially like the story of the light fixture way up in the hallway.
yeah,
It was completely full.
Oh yeah, it's a fishbowl. So, anyways, fortunately, nothing much got damaged. None of the also valuable computer equipment. But I was needing to move before the black mold and mildew
Which was already starting.
killed me. So I had to find a new place. I had to move. I had to unpack. Blah blah blah. But that's not all. That's not the only reason. Of course, I would never forget you, the loyal RPPR listeners. So I also. What did I do? I finally released the Goblin Hulk to much critical acclaim. There's a good review of it on Neuroglyph Games, I believe. They've given a very good review of it, and it's a Brazilian RPPR listener has offered to translate the Goblin Hulk into Portuguese for Brazilian D&D fans.
RPPR is international
Apparently,
now.
goblins and piracy is a winning combination.
And universal.
Apparently, I've seen it listed on Israeli forums, gaming forums. It's been linked to all kinds of crazy places, all the corners of the World Wide Web. Yeah. Did you like what I did there, Tom?
Not really. No, I'm sorry. No.
No. Sigh. Anyway, but that's, again, not all. There's another thing. There is a
Holy crap, there's more.
I have been working. I had not been a total lazy bastard. So aside from moving, getting the Goblin Hulk finished, 17,000 words, 17 new pieces of art, 48 pages.
Yeah, you worked hard on that art, didn't you?
Well, I had to lay it out. I had to put it in InDesign. I had to click the insert font. I had to size it. I had to move it around. That's more important than actually making the art, I think.
I think the artist would disagree with you, Ross.
Well, I'm a graphic designer. I'm sorry, I can't even say it. All right, fine, yeah, then making the art's better. My favorite piece. What's your favorite piece from the Goblin Hulk?
That's hard. That is actually kind of hard to say. I mean, I would love to say obviously it's the portrait of my character because that's. But
Logic,
unfortunately, I really can't. I'm gonna have to say I love Watcher's portrait better than my own.
Yes, all the water. Well, some of the water barons are in there. Watcher, the Warforged fighter, played by Mike
Cassius.
Cassius is the Orc warlord.
Yeah,
and but my favorite piece is actually the sketch of the one-eyed dolphin inn, the one I put on the front page. It's a zombie dolphin hanging over a dolphin corpse hanging over the inn,
which is moving
door.
constantly.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing a goblin would have hanging over a bar.
Well, yeah.
So
who wouldn't?
Well,
not just goblins, man.
Actually, most people wouldn't, because that would smell. I mean, think about it.
Well, I guess on the Goblin Hulk, it's great, it's shit. You're going to smell shit on a ship that's loaded with shit?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but no, the second thing I've been working on for you RPPR fans is I've long since been getting emails from people. I love the episodes. I don't like the actual plays. I love the actual play.
But you guys suck at episodes.
Actually, I don't think it. No, there's just a lot of people who like our episodes and don't care for the actual play. So anyway, the actual play fans, they want more, and I don't want to just flood our podcast feed with just actual plays, because I know we've got a ton of episodes, actual play episodes, in the can, ready to go. Well, I have to mix them and compress them and upload them and tag them.
So actually, really, they're not done at all.
Well, it doesn't.
You're lazy, Ross. You are lazy.
It only takes it doesn't take too much to do it. Anyway, I created a new podcast, roleplaying RPPR Actual Play. It's actualplay.roleplayingpublicradio.com.
We'll link to it.
The only reason I haven't changed why we're still at slangdesign.com/RPPR is because changing that to Roleplaying Public Radio would just be a lot of.
It'd be
work.
a motherfucker.
It would be a lot of work, so I'm not doing it.
And Ross doesn't like work.
Well, unnecessary work. So anyways, actualplay.roleplayingpublicradio.com is a weekly actual play podcast.
Every Monday.
Every Monday or Sunday or Tuesday. One of those 3 days, depending on my schedule.
So it's not really going to be uniform.
It will be 4 episodes a month. That works out to
It's going to be when Ross goes, oh, it's next week. I have to put up another episode.
Yeah. So now we've already started it, and some of you have already found out about it because I posted it on the RPPR forums, which any good RPPR fan should check out.
Don't judge them.
I'm just saying. Well, they get the inside scoop. They get it, hot off the internet.
Well, I saw the arrogant look in your eye, man. It was there.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever you say, Tom. Anyway.
Yes, Tom. That's what you're supposed to say.
Yes, Tom. Mm-hmm. Oh, hi, Tom.
Hi, Ross.
We've already uploaded the epic Call of Cthulhu scenario, U-Boat Haus
or something.
Haus, which means go U-Boat, or something like that in German.
The U-Boat is go.
Yeah, something like that. And it's an 11.5 hour.
2 parts. We're not going to torch you that bad.
Yeah, only 5.5 hours or 6 hours. 5.5 hours for the first part and 6 hours for the second part. Yeah, for a epic Call of Cthulhu scenario run over 2 nights at Gen Con, run by Adam Scott Clancy of Pagan Publishing.
Yeah.
And the players were all veteran gamers and game designers, except for Tom.
I was a veteran gamer, dude.
Yeah, it's true.
I've been gaming since '87.
All right, but everyone else.
What the hell was that?
Everyone else was a published game designer.
Oh yeah, that was true.
Yeah, think about that.
So what are you saying? I was just privileged enough to just be in your reindeer games? Is that it?
Yeah, because they're not published, Tom. Yeah, think about that.
Yes, Ross is published. Now he's going to go have some victory gin and strangle a prole.
Yes, me and the other rakes shall paint the town red with the blood of the proletariat, as we are the capitalist swine. Anyway, So check that out. I'll put a big link on our show notes. I'll put a big link on the sidebar, and subscribe. It's on iTunes now.
I don't know if it's on the recording. I remember when we finished the first half, he's like, do you guys want to continue this tomorrow night? We're like, I think we have to now.
Yeah. I know that some people have already posted their highlights from the first episode, like me making a critical success on a warning shot with a cannon.
Take that, Ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
Very nice.
So
don't worry. My moment's not until the second.
There's
half.
a lot of talk about history. There's a lot of talk about Call of Cthulhu, Greg Stolz.
By the time you're done, you will know how to.
Frank Frey.
By the time it's done, you will know how to operate a U-boat.
Yeah, World War I U-boat, and so. If you're a fan of actual plays, that's the place to go, because this RPPR, the main feed, will just be podcast episodes.
Just us shooting
skits,
the breeze.
Yes,
else. I would like to say I'm nearly finished with another Game Master script.
Oh,
yeah.
My God.
Yeah, we're going to do some more skits later.
Really?
Yes, we are.
Are you sure, Tom?
I might even do another commercial.
Oh my God! I actually thought of a new idea for a commercial.
Did you now? Well, don't tell them.
Okay. I'll tell you after we stop recording, so you'll never know, listeners.
And my mind will be blown.
It will. It's fucking good. So, yes, because we have cursing here. Although I did take off the explicit tag on RPPR, because really it was the New World game. That's explicit. That is explicit. The other stuff, whatever.
We don't talk about that fucking shit.
Well, not like Cody. We're not Cody, is what I'm saying.
No, we are not. We are not Cody.
So we don't have Tourette's, voluntary Tourette's. So anyways, so I have been working some stuff. Oh, also the promo, of course, that I will be putting before this episode is the Swing and a Miss, a podcast started by one of the RPPR listeners. So check that out. I'll put that in the show notes. Yeah.
I think it's time to get into the show proper
yes,
now, Ross.
Fight me or give me a quest. This is... I've been playing a lot of games lately. I've been playing, not just running games, which is... I
know.
Yeah. But
under the watchful eye of your frog.
Yeah, well, also the snapping turtle over there, who hates all things. And the frog is named Gripply. I just want to let you know. So
yeah,
or King Seamoss. I'm not sure. Yeah, either one. He's a frog. He's not gonna care. Anyway, I've been talking. I realize, or at least my theory on one of the reason, or the main reason, I think that the New World campaign is so endearing to the players, is that I've populated it with characters. There's basically three categories of NPCs, it seems like, in tabletop games. Quest givers, do this for me, the mayors, the wizards, and then of course enemies,
the ones we got to kill that motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. And
then everyone else,
people who aren't necessarily going to give you a quest, or or aren't necessarily going to oppose you either through violence or something.
These are the ones in the video games that just have one pre-scripted line they say when you click on them.
But and I think the problem is that in almost all the games I've been playing last 5-6 months, with a few exceptions, there have been almost no NPCs of the third category, of the third kind.
Not to be confused with the fourth kind.
No, the fourth kind will fuck you up.
You will die.
You don't even want to know the name.
You don't even know.
I haven't even seen that movie. Have you?
I don't think it's out yet.
No, it's out.
Is it?
It's been out for a while.
No, I have not seen it.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
more on that later.
Because in the New World, obviously, there's Campbell, there's Septimus, there's the
Balgrin the
Fat. There's just There's literally over 20 or at least 20 NPCs that aren't quest givers.
That we often demand you go back to.
Yeah. You guys like them, and what's interesting is that I kind of have them force their own agenda on the NPCs. They try to do their own thing and there's always a little bit of push. They don't just give way. So the players have to pay attention to them and actually, recognize them in the world. And, we've talked about making NPCs more colorful through, little quirks and traits and all this other stuff.
Actually name them.
But, I think the thing is, you need to realize in your game, you need to add a lot of NPCs who aren't necessarily, the main point of the plot. Just, add them in there. Add in your Balgrins of the Fat. And, because I've been playing in these games, and it just feels like I'm in a fucking ghost town most of the time. some of these D&D games, especially, we go to point A, we fight enemy B, to fulfill quest 1, and then we
return to
rinse,
NPC.
lather, repeat, and then meanwhile it's sort of like, I feel like I'm in this empty world with no one to talk to, nothing to do, and
especially when you're supposed to be in like a really huge city or something.
yeah, the GM doesn't paint a picture of colorful NPCs. And that doesn't mean you don't need to force them on there. Just make sure you create you try and make them suspend their disbelief by creating an immersive world. So, I think, and so that's I think if you're running a game, you need to keep that in mind because I've been running and playing in these games. And correct me if I don't know. What do you think, Tom, about this? Or when you're playing in games with in terms of NPC.
Yeah, well, I usually get the same thing. I'm guilty of this too, and we'll get into that later as well. But I've been in a lot of games where it really is. You're the patron. There's like the one big NPC that controls everything. Is the one you report to. Then there are his little subordinates, and then unnamed talkative jackass who simply moves you from point A to B.
Right.
Everyone else may as well be an extra in a movie,
right?
But an extra in a movie that doesn't talk, and just stands still, who is furniture,
right? And yeah, that's exactly it. Like if you go to a village, there will be the mayor, and then unnamed villagers, and that's
maybe the sheriff,
maybe the innkeeper, but that's
well,
it. Really.
Come on, definitely the innkeeper.
Yeah, that's true, and the tavern wench or whatever. But the tavern wench, like even that. Like,
she's an oversexed, world weary,
right, or something
woman.
like that. But you don't feel like you're in a real village because everyone in there is like a video game character where they don't say anything, and you're just like, eh.
Which I've also actually noticed sometimes if you do that enough, actually the empty village almost becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And then it can shock you. That can shock the crap out of you when you go to one that's run by someone else and. My God, there's names I have to remember, and
yeah, I think that's the thing. Names you have to remember. Where there's stuff. Again, I think it goes down to basic, suspension of disbelief. Am I in a sort of believable fictional world? Is my character,
or am I in a box?
Yeah, or am I just going from fight A to fight B? So, and that sort of gets back into more of a structural thing where also, too many games I had where you were basically in an isolated wilderness, cut off a closed world, where you went from fight A to fight B to fight C, in that order. And then there were other ones where it was open sandbox, and it was so open you didn't know what to do. And I think there needs to be a variety. I think the perfect scenarios, or the good scenarios, are the ones with a little balance of both. Like the U-boat scenario we played in.
When we were on the U-boat, and actually it's true in real war, that's your world.
Yeah. And the NPC interaction was pretty minimal because they were other members of the crew, and they would either do what we told them or
gave you orders.
Yeah, as judged on the hierarchy. And but when and this is the real defining moment, any GM I think can do something like that. Any GM with minimal skills can do that. But to Scott's credit, when he put us in the village, there's spoiler alert, we go to a village in the middle of the
posted it already, they know.
Yeah. It came alive. There was the mayor, there was the head nun,
town sheriff,
mother, who took care of the there's a
constable, the harbor master,
who's that old dude? There was a doctor, right?
Yeah,
doctor and his assistant, and he was had his own little deal, and there were the other little constables and other authorities, and of course there was the one we didn't know who to trust and all this other stuff. And so Scott had all these characters ready, and they talked to us as though they were real. The mayor wasn't just so impressed, but in a lot of bad games you always have either the NPCs who are just doormats, do whatever you want, or they're impervious barriers to what will say no matter what. You know what I mean? It's too easy to go too easy.
They are. It's either doormat or Der Fuhrer.
Yeah, exactly. There's no, and that's I think a mark of a bad game, and if it's consistent, a bad GM. that they can't make NPCs that give you some resistance, but don't ultimately, don't act believable. The mayor should be like, I'm an authority figure, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do it.
But at the same time,
but if you put the right pressure on them, they should.
It's also true to the scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember he did. Like, the mayor was, like, I am the mayor, but you could tell he was also nervous that there's also an armed German U-boat right off our town.
So we could eventually change his mind or persuade him, given the evidence. And that's the sign that a GM would eventually allow this resistance, this challenge, and then give in basically, or allow the players success when they deserve it. So that's what you need to do, is make it so where it's not fight me or give me a quest. And it happens to every, I think, GM sooner or later that you're going to have a scenario with a kind of off kilter design. Like you had. I've had
a couple of games I've run. One was a 6-part thing I ran that I finally had to put on hold.
What was this? Is this something I was in?
Yeah, that's the Mutant Masterminds thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you were in that. And also I had ran another Call of Cthulhu game that was more just an idea I had.
Yeah.
Ross was in both of them.
Yeah, no, I was in both of them. In your first one, we were in that space station, then we were in our underwater base, the Mutants and Masterminds game. We were like this sci-fi superheroes kind of thing. Set hundreds of years in the future. But it seemed like, for one thing, you gave us all these other NPCs, but they're just kind of sitting off in the corner.
I had plans with them, but I never got to them.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, I think that was just a mistake having so many of them there. You should.
Yeah, I admit that game. I was actually overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I will completely admit that. I got completely flustered and.
I think that's a common mistake, and a lot of times when you're setting up a game is you get too ambitious and be like, oh, there could be dozens of NPCs and blah, 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 and it's going to be a world-spanning arc, and you just realize...
I mean, it wasn't bad as far as I thought. Everyone seemed to have a good time, so...
No, I mean, it was... it was ultimately fun, but I just felt like, again, I was sort of in an empty world, like I couldn't really talk to anybody other than the other players. And we go to this a good example is the cult leader, in DC, and we go to him, we fight him, we find out what he wants, and then the aliens attack us, and then at no point do we interact. Do we have any chance? We're in this massive city in the future, and at no point does we have any meaningful interaction with anyone else.
Right.
So it's like it could have been anyway empty aside from the cult leader and those two aliens we met. So, throwing in a quirky busboy or having government agents who are hopelessly outmatched or something like that would have added a lot to it. So, I
don't rule out coming back to it later.
Yeah.
But,
no, it's a good idea, but I think
it's an idea that it was. Once again, I think a little bigger than I had planned.
Now, one thing I've noticed in both your superhero game and in RJ's superhero game, and this is talking about NPCs, is sort of the power level thing, which is obviously very hard to gauge in superhero powers because it's kind of a rock, paper, scissors thing to a certain degree. Like, I have superpower X, and it can only be defeated by superpower Y, and you're invincible until you come up against super Y, and then you suck. So... but in your game and in RJ's game, we both faced in the opening sessions these super incredibly impossible to defeat NPCs, basically enemies.
Right. I think with mine though I didn't make you fight him.
Right. Well, and RJ's fight was survivable, but like. That kind of hurts suspension of disbelief to say, oh, we're facing against the heaviest hitter in the first place, but he's not going to kill us, or we don't get pasted into, it's very hard to pull that off, I think. I think you both did it, both of you, both RJ and you did it about as well as you can do. Yeah. But it's something if you can avoid it in the first place, I think it's better off.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but the other thing I ran, which I think is a lot more indicative to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I ran a one-shot Call of Cthulhu game that pretty much I ran essentially off of an idea.
Right. You want to get into that? Yeah.
Which essentially, like the whole genesis of this scenario was weird, freaky shit in the middle of a huge forest fire.
Right. Which is a great idea. I mean, as soon as you told
But-
me about it, I was like, wow, that's a great idea.
I think, but the problem is, I had a great idea that accidentally or intentionally or whatever decided to and that's to be what carries it. So I didn't work that much on it,
You didn't do anything on it.
hardly at all.
And how good are you? Would you rate yourself at improvising and making shit up?
The thing is, I actually am pretty good most of the time, just not with a group of that size and that experience level.
So you're good with your usual group, which is David and Aaron, but not with
David, Aaron, Jake, and Andy were the
your
primary
core
group, the core
Right.
group, and they were a lot easier to improv with. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm simply saying this is a completely different group than that one.
Right. Like last New World game, I know we're sort of drifting conversationally, but whatever.
It all comes back.
I made a lot. Obviously, could you tell what I was improvising on the spot for the New World game, the last one we played?
I honestly can't remember.
Garnus family versus the Eisenhorn family.
Oh, yeah.
The nobles trying to get the pearl for the what did you think in terms of do you think it would have been? I just want to get your opinion on it.
I think we got where we needed to go. As for that, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, if it was there, if it was not there, it wouldn't have changed much.
Just what was your? Because you bring up improvising. I basically made up most of the game on the fly. All I had literally 3 ideas on what Cody had to do to get his curse lifted, and what the group had to do in order to get the Earth Spirit and Fire, or
all of it
Fire
worked.
Spirit and Water Spirit.
All of it worked,
right?
And I think the thing is, I couldn't tell you were improvising.
Okay.
I think that's a difference.
Okay.
If the players can't tell you're just making the shit up on the spot.
Because I think it'll be in the recording whenever we get to posting that. But I think Cody is could tell I was improvising or making shit, or somebody made a comment. I remember somebody saying making shit up on the spot. But I don't know if he was referring to the actual scenario or the fact of the names. Because I'm always making up names on the spot because I never have a list of names handy because I'm dumb like that. And Cody apparently now is pissed because I used the name Eisenhorn, and then only later realized that I've been reading the Eisenhorn trilogy, which is we'll get into in our shoutouts. But anyway. So yeah, you're I think the thing is, what we're trying to get at is make sure your scenario is very varies in terms of NPCs and in terms of environments. I mean, I think it would help anyone running the game to abstract it as much as possible. Make a flow chart or mental flow chart. Okay, so really, what can the characters do? Really, what can the options do? The guy who developed Prince of Persia actually created some really great rules on game design. And I'm going to pull them up right now because I can, because I have a laptop with good internet now. That's another thing about this. I have much better internet now.
You can just go to a site and not have to approve it.
Yeah, exactly. So he just posted a blog post today about his, actually I know what it's on my Google Reader. Rules of game design. Now he's talking about video games specifically, but
it's pretty often video games can be close to RPGs.
Yeah, no, I think the first example he gives is make a list of what the game is about, what you do, and if you're talking about a great cinematic. Oh, here it is. All right, the story is what. Here it is. Jordan Mechner's 11 Laws of Game Design. The story is what the player does, not what he watches. List the action the player actually performs in the game and take a cold, hard look at it. Does it sound like fun? Resist the temptation to embellish. If a cinematic shows the player's characters sneak into a compound, clobber a guard, put on his uniforms, the player's action is watch cinematic. letting the player click to clobber the guard isn't much better. Now, tabletop version, this still works because like if you think the first thing is, oh, the players are gonna watch these two elder gods duke it out for supremacy of the universe, it's the player's action. Our actions are watch the two elder gods, not
perhaps crack open a book next to us. And,
yeah, exactly. It's not really relevant.
Or get up and go get a soda. Or
yeah,
that's what we're gonna do.
Exactly. The only significant actions are those that affect the player's ability to perform future actions. Everything else is bells and whistles. So, what you actually have to do in order to keep going. Design a clear and simple interface. Obviously, not so much for tabletop RPGs. Player needs a goal at all times, even if it's a mistaken one. If there's nothing specific he wishes to accomplish, he will soon get bored. Even the game is rich with graphics and sound.
The gaming equivalent of dead air.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like, all right, you guys are in a bar. What do you do? What's the bar like? Oh, there's people.
Hi, Dave.
Yeah. Well, haven't you been in a game like that where the GM wouldn't fucking tell you what was going on? Doesn't that piss you off?
Well, I've been in, not so much that, I have been in one where, and I've done this myself, where it's not so much that he's just ignoring it, it's that you can tell he is burning lean calories trying to think of something.
Yeah.
Realizing, oh fuck, I didn't plan beyond this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that happen.
Yeah, and it sucks when you're in a bar and there's people and you don't know what they look like, who they are, what they're doing.
I mean, I've never seen it where it's and that's
well, your Star Wars game, it's at Gen Con sounded kind of like that. Like
we didn't even have that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, there's a few more goals.
Yeah.
The more the player feels the events of the games are being caused by his own actions, the better, even when this is an illusion. So again, if the players, are the ones moving the story, good. Analyze the events of the story in the terms of their effect on the player's goal. For each event asked, does this move the player closer to or further away from the goal, or give him a new goal? If it's not, it's irrelevant to the game. More of a video game thing. Right. Longer the player plays without a break, the more of his sense of reality of the world is built up. Anytime he dies or has to restart from a save game, the spell is broken. So again, this is sort of like the longer you can go without, calling forth to like breaking the spell, like, oh, let's go take a smoke break, or let's make a stupid joke or something like that.
And I gotta give it to Glancy. He can go pretty well nonstop.
No, he good focus. Let's see.
I think we were the ones that I have to go get a soda now.
True. Alternative paths and recoverable errors, multiple solutions to the same problem, missed opportunities that can be made up later are all good. That's multiple solutions to the same problem. That's something we've gone over many times, I think, in this show. Don't introduce gratuitous obstacles just to create a puzzle. Like, haha, you must defeat an iron golem to get through this room. Why? Fuck you, that's why.
Can't I go around?
Yeah, nope. No. You have to fight it. As the player moves through the game, he should have the feeling that he is passing to potentially interesting avenues of exploration. The ideal outcome is for him to win the game having done 95% of what there is to do, but feeling that there might be another 50% he missed. Now, that's video game, but I mean, again, you should always leave him wanting more. And I think with the new world, I'm always throwing out like plot hooks by the bucket. And you guys are only you can only jump at so many, and like that's good. You guys are always wanting to come back for more. So yeah. So anyways, those are I think some of the just some lessons, just some thoughts about game design that have been rolling through my head.
And one lesson that I've discovered is you're never too experienced not to learn another lesson.
Yeah. No, I mean I've had. In the New World game, I've had sessions that have gone great and some because of that. And also Call of Cthulhu one-shots.
It's the same story with me. I've had...
Like that second prototype game, the Call of Cthulhu one, where Cody really hated it because it went from investigation to action. And he hated that genre jumping. So, that, that was on my bad.
Well, both of us have done that recently.
Yeah, so
me a little more than you, I think.
Yeah, obviously.
You're still a dick.
Oh,
I know.
Anyway, so I think we'll cut this off right now, the discussion, because we have some anecdotes. Anecdotes do we have for you? But first, since Tom forgot his little letter.
Hey, I've been working really hard today.
Sure you have.
You've been playing Left 4 Dead 2.
Actually, I have worked, and I had my
And
night
played
class
Left-
was canceled.
and played Left 4 Dead 2.
I've done stuff.
And played Left 4 Dead 2.
No, I've done other stuff.
You
I
did-
made myself a sandwich. Yeah, you.
Mother of God.
Yeah, they can't say anything to that, can you?
I can say,
I picked up my laundry.
as in you lifted it off the ground?
No, I have to go to a laundromat now because I don't have a washing machine. They didn't give me a free one here.
You stupid bastard.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll be back with a special two-person rant on the worst movie of the fucking... Well, no, it's not even that, but it's a horrible fucking movie. 2012, so we'll be back in a second. $2012, worse than an Xbox video game cutscene. Like, not even a good, like, AAA title, like a budgetware, like something that starts out new.
ValueSoft.
Yeah, ValueSoft. Like, it's so fucking terrible. Like, just, I really fucking hate that movie. And I know you paid for my ticket because I'm fucking broke because I had to move this month. But
there's no way I could watch that alone.
yeah, so we went with, and Aaron had to go too, but he has a job that pays money. So.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Anyway, so 2012. It's a movie about.
If you don't know what it's about, then you haven't been watching TV.
Oh my god! It's like neutrinos are coming from the sun. They're causing the Earth's core to heat up, and it's all going to get all liquidy and shit. And the Earth's crust is going to move.
And it's gonna result in special effects.
Yeah, special effects, and literally, okay. The entire movie, the movie structure is basically geared around John Cusack and company outrunning the end of the world, which can be outdriven, outflown,
and it's like
or
chasing
outrun.
them.
Yeah, it's literally chasing them, and everything, all the talking, all it is cutscenes for like level 1,
Escape from Los Angeles.
Oh, very good, excellent combo.
And it's a video game, and not even a good video game. This would be like a video game with a lot of quick time events.
Yeah,
It's like hit button to jump.
Yeah, and with terrible controls, you just know you'd be
yeah.
like, I fucking
And
hit.
very linear. It's not like a sandbox
I
drive.
avoided that falling building. God, this game sucks. Fucking ValueSoft. Anyways, and then no, you get to play. No, outfly. Oh, Los Angeles be destroyed. Oh, so fucking awesome. Wait, no, it's not.
And then and we're back to boring shit. Okay, and
Woody Harrelson. Oh, very funny. Oh no, so Yellow Dome is.
Yellowstone's exploding.
Oh, super volcano. Oh my god. Yeah. So you got the basic idea of the movie. People outrunning things falling apart.
That's it. That's all.
And then there's a cheap Chinese-made super arc boat thing that is supposed to outlast
and
the
Ross.
tsunami. Yeah.
The dog.
Oh my god. There's a fucking annoying little toy dog that the Russian hot chick has, and it gets on a.
The fat Russian billionaire and his kids have the dog. And
I mean, really, I don't even describing it gives it too
and
much.
the puns.
Really? I don't even.
I'm talking about
remember
the pun. The puns. The puns they say as things are falling apart to like throw a brief moment of humor onto it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like a CSI Miami show. Like,
Yeah, you could literally have like it says like it's like looks like this whole city's gonna shake and bake.
Yeah. Yeah. And I took off my sunglasses there, and then just imagine that. And yeah, so I hope it fails at the box office, and everyone involved with
and
it
of course,
gets canceled.
they pretty much they went shopping at the cliche superstore, and pretty much just piled their cart high.
Yeah, and anyone who's had any slightest bit of evil in them has to die.
Well, no, actually, I would say no. Anyone who isn't one of the main named characters from the beginning must die.
Well, I was thinking, like, okay, the Russian hot chick and the pilot died because they were having an affair. The Russian billionaire died because he's a total asshole.
But the two kids were total
Woody
assholes,
Harrelson
but
has to
they're
die
kids.
because he's fucking crazy.
The president has to die
Because he ordered all those people's deaths, assassinations with the fridge guy got blown up. Oh no! Yeah, it sucks.
But Oliver Platt's the only bastard that doesn't die.
Oh yeah, there has to be the one ass that's like, no, you can't save those people. Well, I have to be a hero, so I'm gonna be a heroic black
So I'm just
scientist
gonna stand there and like brood like, you're all wrong.
yeah. Oh no, and the gate won't close because of the main John Cusack fucking everything up. And oh wait, no, he saved it. Yeah.
And like, oh, John Cusack's character is a failed author who wrote one book.
Yeah.
But of course, the main scientist, he's read the book and it's inspired him.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they show a month. The thing I really hate is, okay, so 3 boats with a few 100,000 people on, maybe 500,000 tops, survived the destruction of the Earth. We just have to assume that literally every single person on the planet died aside from that. At least that's what the movie would have you think. Like, nobody on some of the other ships or nobody on those other land. Like, you think people in fucking Iowa would live through that. Like, oh yeah, giant, they're not near a volcano, they're not near enough to get hit by a tsunami, but they're dead somehow. Yeah.
Or in like a geologically stable area,
Yeah.
like the Rockies.
Yeah. Yeah, like NORAD. Oh no, NORAD. Whatever.
Or remember the axis shifted, so now the South Pole is Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So the people the Inuit who are living in Alaska suddenly are in a temperate zone.
Yeah. Well, anyway, anyways, what really pissed me off, so we showed them like a few 100,000 people a month later opening doors. Oh no, the sun's back. Yay. Yeah, we're all happy.
Yeah, I was like, okay, the entire 99.9% of the entire population is wiped out. Everyone is smiles and hugging and like there is no PTSD of this group.
They must be like the assholes of humanity, like the total self-centered sociopaths would be like, oh, I'm okay. All right.
It's like our entire species outside these 3 boats is dead.
Yeah.
Brave future.
Oh man. Yeah. So in lieu of a Tom's letter, we've given you this review of 2012, a terrible fucking movie that should be forgotten and buried and burned.
But it won't.
No, it's even
This
worse.
It's a summer blockbuster in November.
Worse than A Day After Tomorrow.
I actually think Independence Day is probably the best movie they've done.
Independence Day is Citizen Kane compared to this piece of crap. Anyway.
So yeah, if you need to watch a Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich movie, go watch that. Go watch Independence Day.
Don't watch this movie.
No, don't.
Don't. I can't believe you gave them money, Tom. I'm so ashamed of you. I have to shun you now.
I don't really give a shit.
Oh.
Fuck you.
Really?
Yeah, I don't care if you shun me.
So.
Because you need me.
Yeah, because talking to myself isn't as fun.
That and I have a car more consistently than you do.
That's what I have to say to that.
Fantastic.
All right, we'll be right back. And we're back.
No. No, you will refrain.
Are you sure, Tom?
Ross, don't make me shove this pen in your eye. I know.
All right. Well, now we have shout-outs.
Yeah, that was what we call more of... That's an anti-shout-out we just did.
I get... Yeah, sure. Okay. We'll go with that. Yes,
Good.
Tom.
I'm glad we did.
All right. Tom, you only have one shout-out.
I only have one shout-out.
Yes.
Mine is actually a CD by a group Creature Feature. It's... I believe their only album so far, which is the Greatest Show Unearthed. Kind of a, horror-themed punk, techno kind of thing. It's more just the journey of which I found it. I mentioned the Nostalgia Critic in one of my earlier shout-outs in another episode. And one of the topics was the top 11 nostalgic mindfucks. And his intro had this really kick-ass song, which got me curious enough to try to find it. And I finally did, and listened to a few clips of the CD, and actually, it's one of those that I think I'll actually go purchase this. I know, and I purchased music and didn't download it.
I have done that too.
But it's one of those things that you actually can mention to someone and actually have
I
it be
bought
new.
an Abney Park CD recently. I saw them live.
I'm glad
I did see them live. They're the steampunk band, and I saw them in Fayetteville at Ravenwood's steampunk.
Hey, this isn't about you right now.
Okay.
Your time's coming up. And actually, I've kind of said my piece. So yeah, the CD, Greatest Show on Earth, really good.
Unearthed.
That's what I said.
You kind of ran your words together there, Tom.
Fine. I will now say this in the overly enunciated version. The Greatest Show Unearthed.
All right, just so we're clear. I have a whole bunch of shout-outs.
Well, why don't you just fucking do them?
Yes. First, as I've mentioned on the forums, I've been reading some novels recently. A trilogy of Warhammer 40,000 novels written by Dan Abnett. It is called Eisenhorn. There's 3 novels, Xenos, Malleus, and Hereticus. And it's about an Imperial Inquisitor, which, if you know the Warhammer 40,000 universe, it's a very, purge the unclean.
They're about as lovable as the actual Spanish Inquisitor.
Actually, Eisenhorn is a pretty interesting character. He's more of a moderate in the Inquisition, and he's not a radical.
He's Ron Paul.
No, he's a moderate. Not Ron Paul's fucking crazy. He's not. Anyway, it's part. It's this whole very intergalactic. Dan Abnett's a really great pulp sci-fi writer. Each chapter is very short, very punchy writing, and there's shit going on all the time. There's no long, boring sections where nothing's happening.
He gazed longingly in her eyes.
Yeah, or like, I was tortured and put into prison, blah, 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 for 50 pages. Like, he'll get tortured and shit, but then, he's free 10 pages later or 5 pages later.
And he's strangling the fucks.
Or shooting them with a bolt pistol and then using a power sword and jamming it down some, chaos cultist throat. Good stuff.
Because that's all they're good for, is death.
Well, yeah, pretty much. So it's a great read because it just goes. You're just reading like, oh, okay, oh, wow, holy shit. And there's all kinds of neat ideas. Great gaming fodder for any number of sci-fi, fantasy, or horror RPGs.
Dark Heresy.
Yeah, I definitely want to run Dark Heresy sometime because it does sound like Call of Cthulhu in space now. Although with better guns and psychic powers. So, yeah. But anyway, Eisenhorn Trilogy. I highly recommend it if you're looking for some sci-fi pulp action. Even if you're not a fan of the 40K universe, you don't need to know anything about it because he explains all this shit. And Dan Abnett's a pretty good writer. So
Ross approved.
Yeah. And yeah. Anyway, next, Time Travel T-shirt from Tobacco, as created by, I'm wearing it right now. It's basically a T-shirt that says, so you've gone back in time, and it lists how to create penicillin, how to smelt aluminum, how to create electricity, create magnets, all kinds of useful stuff, how to make flying machines, and it always reminds you, be sure to take credit for it. So if you ever go back in time and you need to invent stuff, this is the T-shirt that you would need to be wearing.
Guaranteed to make you the new chieftain of the tribe of the tribe.
Exactly, or Emperor of Rome.
That's a little ambitious, but
well, if you had flying machines and electricity, who knows?
And gunpowder
and penicillin. Penicillin would probably be the best because
But I'd say gunpowder the close second.
Well, I don't know, maybe. Anyway, it's all good. So I would get it. It's from Ryan North, the guy who creates Dinosaur Comics, and it's only $18. Let's see here. Oh, E-Collapse. This is something I got back a while ago from Greg Stolz, one of the players from the U-Boat scenario, and I actually ran a Call of Cthulhu for him at Gen Con. Greg Stolz, big-time game designer. Very good game designer. He did Unknown Armies, a bunch of White Wolf stuff, Rain, One Roll Engine. Anyway, he has come up with a superhero RPG called E-Collapse, and it takes place in the near future where science has progressed to the part where basically they can give people the equivalent of superpowers, through science.
Science!
Yeah, various chemical enhancements and that kind of thing. And it's about people who dress up as superheroes to go fight for their own ideology, whether it's a religion or political ideology or misguided.
No more overdue library books.
Exactly. So it's got a lot of neat ideas in it. So if you're interested, if you're interested in sci-fi superhero kind of stuff, big Warren Ellis fan, I'd recommend you should check it out. I promise I totally mentioned. Then I've been kind of building up for a while, as you can tell. Let's see here. Oh, HoboCon. I know we mentioned this right after Gen Con. This is a documentary about. Do you remember this, Tom?
I remember this. Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to describe the concept?
Basically, it's a group of people went to Gen Con with no money and no plan.
Right. And they survived somehow.
Survived
this was Gen
all 4
Con
days.
2008. Now, I finally had time to sit down and watch it. It's about an hour and 15 minutes in length. And if you've never been to Gen Con, I would recommend getting it so you can get an idea of what it's like, especially if you're going to Gen Con and you've never been to a big con before. I would get this solely so you can get an idea of how big Gen Con is, so you can prepare yourself adequately.
You remember 2007?
Yeah.
Blew our fucking minds.
Yeah.
Well, mine, I don't know. Is your mind impervious to being blown?
Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're not going to enjoy life.
My mind is blown all the time, so it's never blown. It's
in a perpetual
it's
state
a Zen
of being
thing.
blown.
Anyway, so it gives you an idea of how big Gen Con is, but the problem is, I think with the documentary, it's kind of a missed opportunity. They have a lot of montages showing them playing various games or people playing games, but they don't mention what the games are. And I was really curious to find out what all these board games are, all these RPGs, all these other things. And I wish they would and they spend a lot of their time in the documentary describing how they're trying to survive. Oh, they're sleeping under the under the stairs in this utility closet. Oh, they're trading these little pins for money so they can buy a McChicken sandwich, and they split it up in 3 parts. And that's interesting and all, but they spend too much time talking to the camera themselves, not enough describing what they. I mean, I got a sense that they went to Gen Con just to survive it. They didn't they went to the dance, which was interesting, and they did a few other things, but I would have liked more about the games and what they did. I would have liked it to have been more about them gaming as much as possible, getting as much possible out of Gen Con instead of merely surviving it with no money and no plan. But so if you've already been to Gen Con, you know what it's like. And if the concept grabs you enough, you might do it because it does a pretty good job of showing their plight and everything. But really, it's the best people who would benefit from this are people who are going to Gen Con for the first time and need an idea of
virgins, as it were.
Yeah, Gen Con virgins. So I would really like them to do another Gen Con documentary, but this time focus on every event that goes on there. You know what I would really love? A documentary that shows all the highlights of Gen Con and gives you an idea of what you might want to do before you go there. Because, there are literally hundreds of events going on there, like True Dungeon, all these RPGs, all these tournaments.
You got to plan a long time in advance.
Yeah, and if you don't know ahead of time what you might be interested in, then you're like, oh. So, and there's these games and tournaments and things that have been going on for decades. There's guys who do this one World War I biplane game, Something by Dawn, and they've been doing it for 20 years. And they always get there and play this game at this time. And then there's Tracy Chapman, or there's some Kevin Hicks breakfast where, I don't know, there's hundreds of gamers getting killed or their characters getting killed or something. And then there's the Dungeon Crawl Classic Tournament from Good. I mean, there's so much shit going on. I would love to have a documentary that shows okay, here's what this event is, and here's what this and here are the people who are running. Let's go on to the next event. Oh wow, this is cool. And then it's just a little more bread and butter, informative kind of stuff.
Also, we recommend if you go to Gen Con, bring money.
Yeah. You really do need money. I know that going there without money sounds kind of
like a heroic.
It's kind of gimmicky, but it's so. I hope the HoboCon guys make that documentary about Gen Con. But if somebody needs to make that documentary because that would be really beneficial to show Gen Con in all its glory.
And if you do make it, to be sure to mention where you got the idea from.
I'm too busy gaming at Gen Con to run a documentary.
I'm too busy doing things.
Yeah. Trying to get work. Hey,
please hire me.
Yeah, hey, publishing companies need a new freelancer, RPG freelancer. So let's see here. Left 4 Dead 2 that came out today, November 17th. I've been playing that, and yes, it is. If you like Left 4 Dead 1, you will love Left 4 Dead 2. It is.
Enough said.
Awesome. Yeah, pretty much. It doesn't need me to promote it. It is awesome though. So, fine, although I will mention again, I know we've mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. It's tearing me apart!
Oh, God. No.
Yes.
Son of a bitch.
It's The Room. And I know we've mentioned The Room as the riff tracks, but my local
we've mentioned,
theater.
if you've listened to our actual plays lately, we mentioned the fuck out of The Room.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hi, Tom.
Oh, hi, Ross.
The Room, there's an art house movie theater in Springfield, Missouri called the Moxie. Moxie shows all kinds of independent movies.
Local movies.
Yeah, well, yeah, local movies. And they showed The Room on Saturday. And I went there with a large crowd, several of my friends, including Cody, Jason, and Dan. And there were also a bunch of people there who were big fans of The Room and dressed up as characters from it. They had costumes, the costumes. They knew all the lines. They knew the lyrics to the songs for the 3 sex scenes that are in the first 20 minutes of the movie and are horrible because you see Tommy Wiseau's ass.
That poor girl.
Yeah. Literally, she was 18 off the bus from Texas.
And that was the first scene. It was the first scene she shot.
Yeah. So if you ever get a chance to see The Room in a theater with a live audience, do it. Like next month, if they show it again at the Moxie, Tom, you're gonna have to go.
Is that an order?
Yeah, pretty much. You're gonna have to fucking go.
No, it's a good thing. You're
gonna dress up as one of the characters.
It's a good thing I don't pay any attention to you.
Yeah, well, it's hilarious and it's worth it because the riff tracks you kind of distracts you from the actual dialogue and story. And when you watch it in a theater, one thing you can see it in a large enough screen that you can actually see the spoons in the picture frames, which is like so surreal. But you actually focus on the story and you realize how fucking bizarre it really is. With all these subplots introduced and then forgotten. All this other insanity.
Hi, doggy.
Yeah, all hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Yeah, exactly. So please see The Room in a theater if you get a chance. If you live in a big city like LA or New York, I'm sure it's there.
There's probably the billboard
Springfield,
for
Missouri
it.
has the Moxie. There's the Ragtag up in Columbia, Missouri. There's art house theaters all over the place. So please, for the sake of your own soul, do it.
Because Tommy Wiseau needs more money.
No, it's about the spiritual experience and improving your. I don't know.
Well, you know that Tommy Wiseau's like, those fucking idiots.
No,
They're tearing me apart.
Yeah. So finally, there's one other movie I saw at the Moxie that night, and that was the one I saw before The Room, and that was Black Dynamite. Black Dynamite is an homage to blaxploitation movies, of course.
Shaft,
Dolomite, Superfly Jones, Coffee, and it's
Foxy Brown.
Yeah, Foxy Brown. Yeah,
You're amazed I know of these.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly funny. It's a dead-on homage to blaxploitation, and it has a lot of funny ass people
Pimps
in it.
and
Pimps,
hookers.
kung fu hookers, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, yeah, you should totally watch it in theaters or when it comes
And
out on
70s
DVD.
music.
Yeah, and 70s music. So, I will put a link to the trailer. The trailer will convince you that you need to see Black Dynamite. So,
You must see this movie.
yeah. So that's it. A bunch of shout outs, but
They've been piling up.
they've been piling up a little bit. I'm sure I forgot something. If I forgot you and I said I was going to give you a shout out, I'm sorry. I'll give you a shout out if you. We'll do episodes more quickly from now on, since.
Well, back to our normal schedule.
Well, maybe even faster. Who knows?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that is so ambitious.
So we will end this episode with a whole bunch of anecdotes from 2 different people. So, yeah, I will go first with the shorter of the anecdotes. Water. It's great.
Dihydrogen monoxide.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, our first anecdote is from Philip Blair. Hi guys, I love the show. I've been listening since May. It was the only thing that got me through revision for my standard grade exams. Now he's from the UK. You can tell because his email address ends in .co.uk.
Ah.
So revision for my standard grade exams.
It's a British thing, probably.
Yeah, British thing. So problem was when I got to the exams, I couldn't get the RPPR podcast out of my head. Question: describe the many ways Hitler manipulated German voters to gain power. Answer: he was like Lex Luthor times 10.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Buzzing.
Yeah. Anyway, since it's just been Halloween, obviously I've got a Call of Cthulhu anecdote for you that shows the best thing the DM can do is make the other PCs bigger enemies in the DM. So to set the scene, it was me as the keeper, 6 of my friends, and my younger sister, all in high school. Nobody but my sister and I had played before, and I gave them very little idea what to expect. It was a scenario I'd written myself based on Ian Rankin's new Constantine graphic novel, Dark Entries. I've actually kind of wanted to read that. That was my side. The PCs are all in a Big Brother type reality TV show. It's deliberately creepy, but they think they just have to escape and win whatever prize they've been told lies at the end. The pregens don't know anything about each other and slowly realize they can't even remember how they arrived in the house. It turns out they're all dead, and their deaths connect them in a psychic pattern. The TV show is actually a sick game of Nyarlathotep's, and the stakes are raised, but most of them manage to escape. The best part of the game occurred about halfway through when the players were at the height of paranoia against each other, forming their own little groups and trying to protect each other from the obviously evil PCs. That sounds like a real reality show, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, they find a wall that can only be passed after sacrifice of blood and power. The ex-soldier Glenn has always been suspicious of the newcomer John and passes me a slip of paper asking to attack him. He rolls to hit and does. Roll damage, only a 1. I described to John his feeling of being smacked in the back of the head by a glass vase. This confirms all suspicions about the suspicious Glenn, and he draws the magnum that the producer handed him as he entered. John, thinking that he himself was a mole, to spy on the others. All the other PCs are shocked and appalled at this behavior from both combatants. Kikyo, the Japanese teenager, grapples Glenn from behind and stops him attacking John further. During this time, John rolls to hits roll damage, and hears a shocking sound, click! The gun was empty, just another Nyarlathotep's tricks. Meanwhile, Shug, the juvenile delinquent, sneaks up on John and stabs him in the back, dealing 14 hit points damage, rendering him unconscious. Best part about this was that I barely had to do or say anything. PC's own Cabin Fever and the Big Brother theme tune I'd been playing on a loop for the last 3 hours got to them and drive them all to a fit of madness. There's more damage sustained in that 10 minutes from the other PCs than all the deep ones in Migu in the adventure. Spend more time shouting at each other than they usually do in our regular D&D campaign at me. Kept finding paranoid notes written between characters every time I go into my room. Should we tell them yet? No, but they could use it against us. Let us wait until we know more. Anyway, keep up the good work and get as much of the New World stuff out there as possible. My girlfriend just destroyed the Goblin Hulk and tried to get all the XP for every goblin, 2,500 that died on the ship. So, true gamer.
True gamer.
She's a keeper. Yeah. Anyway, Tom, you had the first.
Yes, I have the first half of the other one.
This is from Scott Lynch.
Yes. He says, "Hi, this is Scott Lynch again, writing from Soviet Canada. I wanted to write my own shout-out and another anecdote. In effect, these are 2 separate gaming stories. First, the shout-out. I'd like to give a big shout-out to Tom. His description of the adversarial GM and be a team player hit the nail on the head like a hydraulic jackhammer. Oh, he likes me? Many years ago, there was an article in the Dragon magazine that made fun of different types of GMs and gave them monster manual type of statistics, the Monty Hall DM and the like. But the description of the adversarial DM was called the Dungeon Masterus Maximus Horribilis, or Horribilis, or DMMH. I can't find the issue number. Tom's story of the adversarial DM that wouldn't let PCs cross a bridge or the water or go around or get past in any way, even though they were supposed to. Okay, I read that. That was fucked. Tom's story of the adversarial DM that wouldn't let PCs cross a bridge or the water or go around or get past in any way, even though they were supposed to really hit home. Okay, that was right. This is because I had the exact same experience. Let me tell you about the adversarial DMMH from hell. A friend and I had posted a Players Wanted poster in a local comic shop looking for players and GMs. A little while later, we got a call from a fella named Scott S., who wanted to get together. My friend and I were overjoyed as we had been doing one-on-one games for too long and were looking for another player. When we got to meet him, it turned out he wanted to run a second AD&D game. This was great because I had been burnt out as a DM for a while. At first it looked great. He had a house rule system for point-building PCs, and he made extensive use of miniatures. So much so they had an entire city block of really detailed buildings and castles. The guy was an amazing painter. I thought that this would be great. I soon found out that the game was the most frustrating bunch of session I'd ever had to sit through. Even though he had given us the quest, what he wanted us to do, he made the life of our PCs so mundane and stifling that it was one frustrating exercise after another. Even the most routine of things was a major obstacle. For example, I was a thief. I never did any thief-like things in the whole game. He kept all of our PCs in a state of wage slavery that bordered on destitute. I didn't expect him to give me anything, but role-playing a dishwasher at a tavern to pay my daily expenses was less interesting than getting an actual job. There was no way to actually walk from one part of the city to another without having to get hassled by all sorts of annoying people trying to arrest you or accost you every step of the way. One thing that stuck in my mind was that I had rented a room from an innkeeper to stay in. And that was all. That was all it was. A room. More like a self-storage closet, as there was no furniture or even a window. The DM stipulated that the door did not even have a latch. There was no lock. I tried to go to a blacksmith to get him to make me some iron hooks so I could install a drop block on the inside so I'd have some safety at night, given that he was always out to screw the players. I had to slightly trick talk my way into getting the blacksmith to inadvertently admit that he could even make two or four pieces of bent metal long, all the while not giving away to the DM what I was going to use them for. I paid the guy half their worth up front and would pay for the rest when he finished them. It was many game sessions before I could even afford to do this. He had me paying outrageous prices on everything, including fees to the pimps at the Thieves Guild, all in a control-freak way of keeping us wage slaves. After the DM found out what I was planning on doing with them, he, for no reason, had the blacksmith refuse to make them and refused to return my hard-earned shekels. So I counted it as a loss, but by this time I had figured out that the DM was really going out to get us, and said, forget it. I began to play passively aggressively. I refused to follow his strict ordained path, and in some ways I acted a bit like a brat. But by this time the game had become an exercise in barely controlling my anger. This isn't to mention the way he screwed over all the other players individually and us as a group. Eventually I got a police summons to appear before a magistrate because I broke the contract with the blacksmith. At that point I finally said screw it and just left the premises and had to go into hiding. At least at this point I got to use some of my thief abilities. We had a boring quest that sent us into some caverns somewhere, and the GM screwed over the players by having them all turned into stone by a basilisk, except for me. I then had to travel back to town, cross the no-go bridges, and get a magic stone-to-flesh potion to save everyone. Since the DM screwed me every time I did anything, I didn't know how this was going to work. But in order to save his game, he let me do the whole journey, buy a potion, and return in a few sentences. I saw it was in his judgment to skip boring, useless stuff when it was suited to his purpose. I was going to break the vial and commit suicide to fuck up his whole game and hopefully start all over, but I didn't. Like I said, I didn't expect him to give me anything, but I was getting to the point that I was saying to myself, I play these games for fun, not to be discouraged or get angry. I was thinking of leaving the group as soon if things didn't change, but it stuck it for the final straw that broke the camel's back. This is what made me really relate to Tom's impossible bridge story. Canals surrounded the city. Basically, they were carefully placed GM traps to keep us locked in the city, but no one else, of course, since I had found out he wouldn't let us leave without his permission. Several places were what we called troll bridges because they were blocked by trolls that were somehow friendly to the city fathers. We were charged with leaving the city via one of these impassable bridges. Can't swim by it, can't go around it, and even though we were supposed to cross it, he wouldn't let us. Having exhausted every peaceful idea, the only thing to do was to force our way across with violence. Now I had spent the last several 6-hour game sessions scraping up enough copper pieces to buy a crossbow. Even though I didn't even have a weapon proficiency to use it, I figured it would be good to have one distance weapon at the party's disposal. So the first time I was going to use it was at this bridge encounter that we were trying to avoid. In the very first round, the DM unilaterally declares the troll reaches over, grabs it from me, and tauntingly says, "Naughty, naughty," and stomps it to smithereens. No initiative, no to hit, no saving throw, no item saving throw, no nothing. Plus, I had positioned my miniature far enough away from the troll to be able to fire over my fellow PCs, read suckers, heads, and they were blocking its way. I knew he deliberately did that to screw me out of this one simple thing I had fought so hard to acquire. At that point, I mentally dropped out of the game, and after that session, I never went back, despite several calls to do so. Perhaps I should have had a talk with him, but I was dealing with my father dying, and I was moving and other terrible things, and just didn't give a damn. Even after 9 years, I feel like calling him and telling him what a crappy DM he is. My other friend stayed on with the game for another 2 years, but I don't know how he did it. Hopefully this DMMH listens to this podcast. Last I hear, he had become a very lonely DM. That was the first part. Ross has the second.
Just before the unfortunate incident described above, my friend and I were playing in a one-on-one session of the first edition Rules of Boot Hill, a Western game. I've heard of it. I have never played or seen even a copy of it. It's very like 70s. I mean, it's like old school. Always been one of my favorite games. We were playing through the adventure called Burn Bushed Wells. Boot Hill 4, 1983. Just for laughter, I decided to use some fancy props unknown to Mike, my player. There was a session where the locals were having a tall tale contest. In a saloon around the stove, the townsfolk were telling each other ghost stories, local legends, and the like. They had collected a slush fund, and as I was saying, in a saloon around the stove, the townfolk were telling each other ghost stories, local legends, and the like. They had collected a slush fund, and the person who told the best story would win the pot. People went through their yarn. And then it was Mike's turn. He ad-libbed a great story about how at the Battle of Gettysburg, the dead rose from their places they fell and continued the fight. He did it so well that I figured there was no dice rolling to decide that he had already won. But there was still one guy who had to complete the encounter. Unknowns to the crowd, a dark stranger slowly approached the central wood stove. The dark stranger told a ghastly story of how he was tracking the best wild horse in the world, named the Widowmaker. He had a curse to roam the west looking for this thing, like a questing knight, and could find no place to lay his head or call home. His final words were, "But this place sure comes close." Yup, it sure does. Staring misty-eyed into the fire, he lazily tosses his cigar into the stove. Little did the crowd who were hanging on his every word know, but this guy was actually a dastardly villain. His cigar was filled with gunpowder and sulfur, fixed to make a great bang and a cloud of smoke, so that he could grab the cash and make a run for it. Maybe you can see where this is going. Idea was that the PC would give chase and save the day, winning the admiration of the townies. Well, to dramatize the effect, I filled an ashtray full to the top with black gunpowder. And since we were both smokers, I told the dark stranger's tale, timing it with the end of my cigarette. At the conclusion, when the dark stranger threw his cigar smoke bomb into the stove, I dropped my cigar into the ashtray. It didn't go off at first, so I reached over and nudged the butt. Whoof! Black powder doesn't actually make a bang like it does in Bugs Bunny cartoons, unless you use it in a gun like you're supposed to do. It went off like a flash cube. I felt an impact on my hand, and the powder didn't at all burn instantly, so it threw tiny bits of burning powder into my face like shrapnel. I had burned all the hair off of my arm and singed my eyebrows and eyelashes. My fingers and face tingled like I had a sunburn, since tiny embers burned into my face. But it had the perfect desired effect on the game. Poor Mike nearly jumped out of his seat, instantly began a deep consumption-like coughing, along with gasps of, "Oh God, I can't breathe." He tried to keep his head low to breathe clean air in as a mushroom cloud, a perfect mushroom cloud of sulfur with a diameter about 6 feet, slowly coiled to the ceiling, ballooned out to the walls, and crawled down to the floor. Within a minute, the entire living room was a haze of silky bluish-gray smoke. More than you'd ever see in a saloon or at a rave. While the player was retching, I began barking out questions. "Quick, what are you doing? What are you doing?" Mike ignored me and headed straight for the door to open it and get some fresh air. Needless to say, the dark stranger got clean away, and my face and finger tingled for the rest of the night. Wow.
That is total devotion to one's craft.
That is hardcore. A couple of things I'd like to mention. Still, I all have my fingers, my eyesight, my face is no more homely than before this incident. Second, to listeners, remember that Tom and Ross said in episode 31 that they promote the safe use of firearms. Always consult your local laws and bylaws. Third, this is probably the best, worst, or just the plainest, most stupid and dangerous stunt you may have ever heard of in RPG or anywhere. I'm lucky that all I lost was the hair on my arm and face. A lot is a good laugh to look back on. I would never recommend this, and I would never try it again. Ever. Never, ever, never.
Yeah, you think you're an edgy gamer? This guy built a summer cottage on the edge where he lives year-round.
Yeah. And as a last note, I'd like to give a shout out to you guys. First, a warning: the following is shameless flattery and gratuitous brown nosing.
Oh my!
I've explored the net and downloaded several different RPG podcasts, but of of them all. This is the only one I look forward to hearing. It is now the only one I even really listen to. This is because I've tried to listen to the others and found that most of the hosts are completely and totally monotonous. A couple of them are the opposite. They are a bunch of folks cross-talking, interrupting, and inserting unfunny and silly jokes. One was even a bunch of hosts, up to 6 I think, who were just getting drunk and swapping stories. Many of them are simply devoted to one topic alone, or whatever the current fad of D20, AD&D is at any given moment. Blah. But you fellas have a great repertoire and are actually amusing when you are trying to be, and be serious when you want to be serious. And most importantly, you are varied in your topics. I hardly ever hear you refer to the one game to end them all. Your references to Call of Cthulhu are most welcome, since you make topics of all games and films and books, video games, and even that great sounding bag with a broken zipper that Ross
Best damn bag ever.
Fucking ruled at Dragon Con. I didn't use it as much as I should have at Gen Con, but Dragon Con, it fucking ruled. It owned. Yeah. Because you have to pack it right. It's all about loading it out correct. Okay, I am geeking out about shoulder bags, okay, or messenger bags. I've even been able to hear your opinions on games I've never played, owned, or read. Examples are including Monsters and Other Childish Things, which has sparked my interest. Good, because
yes.
And Tom's favorite, Mutants and Masterminds, and also his most desired game to play, Cyberpunk. Like all gamers, I haven't the time or money to buy or play every single game I'd like to, so hearing your thoughts on these is insightful. The Bargain Bin episode was great, as I got more games that way than any other. We should probably do another one then. Yeah. Also, as you may have guessed, this recent episode on Props and Minis was great as well. The first time I'd ever played an RPG, and we used minis in lead. We liked it.
We liked it a lot.
We ate the lead chips. It was great. It was the way games was handed to me, and since then I don't see it around as much. Hopefully, and again, this is due to your reviews, the newest incarnation of D&D will bring them back. Questions or requests. One time, Ross mentioned that you'd like to do an episode of why you dislike riffs, and Tom said we need 2 episodes for that. Well, please do them. I'd like to hear more why you despise the system. Also, there's a podcast called Vintage Gamer where he talks about old games from the past. This is nostalgic for me. Maybe you guys could do a show dedicated to those games that have come before and paved the way. First edition AD&D or D&D, Star Frontiers, Boot Hill, or Villains and Vigilantes. We played Villains and Vigilantes, I think. Matt ran a game in that.
Yeah.
The Mars game. Yeah. Anyways.
I harvested organs for money.
Yeah. It was, yeah. Yeah. You did. Yeah. Endless games that didn't make it, but were good, bad, or ugly. Yes, I love the podcast. Keep up the super great work, and thanks for doing it in the first place. I even like Ross's announcer's voices. So there, Tom. I have to go now. I think the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, want to have a talk to me about my Boot Hill role-playing habits. But definitive, the fans love the announcer voice, Tom.
You see, no, Ross, the fans also love it when I rip on it.
Fans agree that the announcer voice is a gift from the gods. And,
but see, no, Ross, they also love it when I rag on it, too.
No, that...
I think they do.
They just say that yeah, that's your delusion, Tom. I think you're misreading what they're actually saying.
You know, Ross, I believe the delusion falls upon you.
No, I'm surely the next great voice guy. Whatever that is.
You're not.
I am.
You're not.
I am in my own mind.
But yeah, if you want us to do an episode devoted to why we despise the Rift system, well, the Palladium system in general, we could definitely do that.
We could do a whole systems critique of that. Like, well, we could like make a character in Rifts, and that would be 2 episodes right there.
Yeah, it would.
That would be 2 episodes right there, because goddamn, fucking Rifts. Actually, I don't like it.
I say what we need to do for that.
Yeah.
We'll both roll up characters before the show.
Yeah.
Bring them together and discuss what we have made.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to see what Riffs. You saw the Riffs main book.
I have all the. I have practically all the Riffs books still.
Do you have the Chaos Earth books?
I don't have those.
Oh.
I said Rifts. I don't have Chaos Earth.
Well, it's a
It's a spin-off of Rifts. It's a spin-off of Rifts.
It's Rifts.
Spin-off.
It has Mega Damage and Glitter Boys, so that's Rifts. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Mega Damage.
Yeah, Mega Damage. All right. That made a big spike in that thing. All right, this is Role Playing Public Radio. Been episode 38. Fight me or give me a quest, and we're back, baby, and we'll be back forever and stuff.
So Tom and Ross signing off.